Hello, everybody. All right. Well, welcome, everybody. I don't even necessarily want to have a chart up for this. I more just wanted to, well, I guess I will very briefly keep a chart up because I wanted to just go through and just have a little bit of a check-in. Today was a little bit tricky for me mentally, and whenever I have a tricky day mentally, as someone who's been doing this for six, coming up on 7 years, I know that if I had a tricky day mentally, there's a good chance that the rest of the sphere also dealt with a little bit of trickiness mentally today, right? Whoever comes in, you can't unmute yourself, but one thing I will ask to keep your video off just to be not distracting to the rest of the group, as well as you take up bandwidth. So if you keep the video on, I'm just going to end up removing you. So with that being said, welcome everybody. Yeah, like I mentioned, on any day that I find that I'm kind of having a mental, like a trickiness mentally, I like to do like a little check-in and just make sure that, hey, I know I'm probably not alone. I know that there's some of you out there who probably had tricky days. Maybe it was a good day, maybe it was a bad day. Maybe today itself wasn't the tricky day for you, but maybe the last few weeks have been a little bit tricky for you. Whatever the case may be, I had zero plans in terms of what I'm going to talk about. I had no slides. This isn't a prepared webinar, nothing like that. This is just wanted to be a real, honest, and raw me kind of check in and be like, all right, how's everybody doing? Right? And because from a today perspective, I don't really mind the, I posted about it on Instagram everywhere today. I was on the wrong side of a trade today. Pre-news, I was watching some shorts, and then I was already in as I dealt with this big green news candle, right? So it was probably the first time in about 2-ish years for me, I want to say. I honestly can't remember the last time where I've had a trade that was like, news has impacted me for sure, but then like in terms of directly, there was nothing to do during this giant bar. It was just sort of like a shell shock moment where you're just wrong. You end up taking a loss, right? Which is part of life, all that. But I'm not gonna lie, it hit me a little bit hard today because yesterday I had a good solid winner on NVIDIA, right? It was a little bit of a stressful trade, ended up not necessarily as traditional and straightforward a setup as I usually take. But I ended up making a decent chunk on it. And today I watched all of those profits just kind of disappear, right? And it felt for me like one of those days where it's really discouraging, right? And that's the thing about trading that I kind of wanted to do this check-in about is dealing with these feelings of discouragement, right? And here's the line that I always find really fascinating, right? Some people, it's a popular trading line out there. They say, if you've never thought about quitting trading, you're not a real trader, right? For me, I'm kind of like raise my hand and I kind of go like, bullshit, right? Like that's not true because I'm a real trader and I have never thought about quitting. Like in terms of like in the short term, like do I have an end game goal of getting away from trading? Sure. But in terms of like, damn, I had such a bad day that I never want to do this again. I don't know about any of you all, but for me personally, not once has the thought crossed my mind of like actually giving up and actually like fully cutting trading out, never trying. Like that thought literally hasn't registered for me. Like it has not crossed my mind, and it never did. Right? So I always get a little bit where I'm like, if people say you're not a real trader if you haven't considered quitting. Well, I'm a real trader and I haven't considered quitting. However, right? However, what I will say is that even though I haven't thought about quitting, I've thought about pretty much everything up until that point, right? I've thought about breaking my phone, punching walls, jumping on my window. You know what I mean? Like the levels of discouragement between this craft is going to be something that every trader is going to go through, right? At all points in time, you're going to have issues where you have to deal with this sense of like down bad from a mental perspective, right? And here's the part where I think it's really, really fascinating. Today, I had a couple of conversations with a couple of different students, right? And they were on different ends of the spectrum, right? One student had been coming off a relatively hot streak, right? Over the course of the last couple of months, This student had found a rhythm, started to make some significant strides, right? And it's funny because when you see a student make significant strides, the first fear that comes into any educator's head, and I know this to be true, the first fear that comes into our head is, oh my gosh, I hope they just don't get a little too cocky, right? Like I hope they just don't, I hope it doesn't get to their head just a little bit too much, right? And the reason educators think that way is because we've been there, and countless times, and I'm talking countless times, right? Have we been at a point where I feel like I'm just stacking win. Like it feels like you're invincible. Nothing can go wrong, right? So when you see a student start to experience that for the first, second, third time, whatever the case may be, it's like you almost can feel this sense of invincibility, right? That's what a student ultimately ends up feeling like in chasing, right? Is this sense of invincibility where it's like, I am impervious to whatever the market puts at me, right? And I saw a student go through that about a month and a half ago, and then maybe 2.5 months ago. And then the last month, they've struggled a little bit, right? They haven't found their rhythm. They haven't been able to do it. And it hasn't been giant losses. At no point in this is this person blowing up or anything. But the part that I thought was really fascinating about that is that this particular person went from very large emotional highs, right, to a solid, steady month of emotional lows, right? And then another student I had a conversation with is on a different end of the spectrum. They, quite frankly, have just been in lows, right? It's just been a tricky, the last couple of months just have not been their best, right? They aren't coming off of a hot streak that put them in there. But it's been that. And the part that I think didn't really, today I really got down on myself a little bit, right? I was like, dude, I got hit by a news trade. Like, I should have been more aware that the news was coming. Like, you know, you just start to get down on yourself, right? And after sitting there and thinking about it a little bit more, you know, I started to remember, I'm like, well, how would today have felt if it was day 9 in a row, right? Day 9 in a row, which I have been there a million times, right? But let's say it's day 9 or 10 in a row where it just feels like, fudge. What did I do wrong this time, right? Like, what did I make? Like, fucking A. This news this time? Well, of course, something fucked it up. Pardon my French. Right? And I think it really hit me today that no matter the stage you're at, right? Because here I just compared 3 people that are on different levels of their journey, right? You take someone like myself who, again, 6.5 years of experience, I have managed to come through and push out to the other side, right? Then you look at a student, somebody who is like right there. They're so close to that edge of profitability, right? And they have these good months in a row, right? Even they still get hit with a couple of weeks of consistent discouragement, right? Then you look on the complete opposite end of the spectrum and a student who feels like, and when I say student, I'm just referencing people, but you can be anyone out there in the sphere, right? Then you speak to someone who's been more on the lines of where they just feel like they haven't been able to find their groove at all, right? And I think the reason that it hit me as the most fascinating thing today is it reinforced what I already know super well, and I feel like I didn't even need this reinforced, right? But it kind of hit me that no matter what stage you're at, no matter the stage, you're going to have these days where it's just like, right? Like, it's just, you're just going to be sitting there just like, and for me, that's never resulted in a feeling of like, I want to quit. I want to give up. I want to get past it. I want to do it, blah, 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 right? It's never been that feeling. But I try to think back to how I felt when it was day 9 or 10 or 11 in a row, right? And I'm all of a sudden like, man, another one, like another loss, another this, another that, another that. And I think that it speaks bounds to all of you who are here right now or watching this recording right now, the 308 of you that are live, the however many of you that will ultimately end up watching this recording and stick to this part. It's a testament to your willpower, right? and your ability to sort of push through adversity is you're here. I don't care how much progress you've made. I don't care whether you're me and it's somebody who is 6 years down the road, you just had one tricky day that kind of messed with your head. I don't care whether you're that person who's on the cusp of extremely solid profitability, but just keeps hitting a hurdle every now and then, right? Or I don't care if you're the person who just can't seem to get out of the dumps, right? Several losing days in a row, right? Every single one of you and me, we deserve a little bit of credit, right? Because what we have shown is this innate ability to have a desire to push through the hardships that we're going through, to push through some of the struggles that we've been dealing with on a frequent basis or on an infrequent basis or whatever it is, right? So the first thing that I want to say is if you're here, literally, in this Zoom right now or watching it, by definitions, your actions, right, have put you in a group of people that is pushing to get better, that is pushing to improve, that is pushing to make a change in your life, right? Again, this is very niche and specific to trading, but this could apply to pretty much downright everything in your life, right? You're reaching and facing some sort of sense of extreme adversity, right? And you're pushing through. You're pushing through. Now, this is going to look different for everybody at the scales that you're at, right? Again, for me today, I'm going to smoke a few joints. I'm going to go to bed early. I'm going to eat a good meal. And the mental stresses of today are going to be gone for me, right? Many of you may not be at that point. Many of you, the point that you're at may be where today's struggles are going to carry over and it's going to kind of hit you, right? And for the rest of the day, you might be pissed or frustrated until tomorrow's market open, until you have an opportunity to do it again, right? What I would like for you all to do, right? And this is a thing that I've talked about a little bit before, but it really, it really hit me today, I think, more than ever whenever I've talked about this in the past. I want everyone, again, we've already said, if you're in this room right now, you deserve some credit for trying to improve yourself, right? Now, what I would like you all to do is every single trading day, I'm presuming that most of you journal already, right? If you don't journal, start journaling. Start journaling your trades. I shouldn't have to pitch that to you, right? If you're here, you should already know the importance of that, right? But the thing that I'd like you to start doing on your journaling, no matter what it may be, right, is the biggest focus that oftentimes we have is where did I go wrong, right? And of course, inherently, I want you to start treating that. I want you to continue to do that as you do in all of your journaling, right? Identify what was the mistake, what could I have done differently, how would I have improved it, all that, blah, 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 right? It sounds simple. That really is the life hack. And I'm not even trying to pitch that to you right now as like, this is my big pitch and spiel of this whole webinar, right? Because again, I shouldn't have to sell any of you on journaling. If you're here and you're trying to improve, you should already know that each and every day you should be going through your trades and marking out, okay, what did I do wrong, right? And what could I have done differently? What could I have done better, etc. Everything in between, right? But I'd also like you to go through, right? And on every single trade that you have and every single day, I'd like you to start counting the wins that you have. And they're not always going to be monetary wins, right? They're not always, and quite frankly, today, mine's not going to be a monetary win. I lost money today. I took one trade, it got smacked, right? So for me, there is no dollar value positive takeaway from today's trade. Does that mean that there isn't any positive takeaway as a whole? Right? Does that mean that I didn't make progress today as a trader as a whole? No. Right? Now, there are going to be some days where you go on tilt, you have your big, your big bad wolf days types of moment. Yeah, I'm not asking you to find what you did well in those moments, right? But what I'm asking you to do is if you're somebody who has either been in that situation where you had a really good win streak and now you're kind of had a couple of tough weeks in a row, or you're the person who's had 1 month in a row of tough straight action, it just hasn't been for you, right? What I would like you to start doing in your journaling process is every single day, I'd like you to also add what you did right and what you're giving yourself credit for, right? Once you start to do that and you start to kind of stack these wins up more and more and more, maybe you were right on direction, you were wrong on entry. Maybe you were right, but you were 20 minutes early, right? Maybe you were on the wrong side of the trade, but you managed your emotions well. I don't care. Find something in that day, in that trading, whether it be from a technical perspective or from a mental perspective, that you did well. And I assure you, unless it was a blow-up day, there's something in there that you did well, right? And what this will let you do, right, is let's say you do this day one. Okay, I was right on direction, but I was wrong on timing. Okay, got it, right? Okay, right, then day two, it's like, okay, I was just outright wrong on my trade, but I handled it really well mentally. Okay, boom. All of a sudden, if you do this for a month, right, eventually you're going to get a list of things that you are doing well and getting progressively better at. And will you have the list of stuff that you're struggling with, the stuff that you need to change in your trades, the stuff that you need to work on and focus on and get better at? Yes, you'll have that list, but you'll also have stuff that throughout the course of the journey, you can like give yourself some motherfucking credit for, right? Because 99% of people fail at this. So if you're here, if you're literally here, right, then you have some sort of reason to give yourself a pat on the back, but you want to be able to translate that to your actual trades, right? Again, from time to time, there will be trades where you are just outright wrong on everything. You did nothing right. You acted emotionally, whatever the case may be, right? If that's the case on a regular basis, then you have some larger reevaluations to do, right? But if you're finding these things where you're not blowing up, but you just can't seem to get a grasp of it, right? In addition to marking out what you would do differently, right, I want you also to start giving yourselves a little bit of credit, right? Start giving yourself some wins in some direction or the other and start stacking some wins, right? They do not and probably won't be monetary wins, especially in the beginning, right? If you're still honing your craft, mastering your strategy, everything in between, right, they're probably not going to be big dollar value wins, right? What they're going to be is psychological wins, right? Mental wins, little technical wins, right? If you can start to stack those wins, then you can identify your strengths more and more. You'll be able to identify your weaknesses even easier, right? And I promise you, if you do that for a month, you will make real progress, right? But here's the gosh honest truth that I also want to make sure that we're all on the same page about. This is a never-ending battle, right? Today, earlier, I was in a piss-poor fucking mood. I was pissed off. I still am. I'm not in a great mood. Frustrated, all that, right? So if you go through that month doing the journaling I'm talking about you're not only what you're doing wrong, but what you're doing right, starting to add all that to your arsenal, right? And then you start to go on a bit of a hot streak. Be conscious of that, right? Don't start to get in the mindset that, oh, now I'm good. It's like, okay, now I need to continue to maintain. Trading is a skill that you will need to continue to work and maintain throughout the course of your entire life. There is no point, and I am a living, breathing example of this from today. There is no point where you just have flipped a switch and you're just like, oh, I'm good, and I'm impervious to emotions. Losses don't get to me. I'm never on the wrong side of trades. My losses are always smaller than my winners. Like, no, like there is no switch. Every day is a battle. Every single one, right? And that makes sense. My friends, we chose a career where you can make thousands of dollars in seconds or minutes while pressing buttons on a screen. Yeah. It's bound to be fucking hard. Pardon my French. And it's bound to be something that we don't just get to keep for the rest of our life. It's not just something where once you're good, right? Think of it like a professional athlete on some level, right? Once they've gotten their body into tip-top prime shape, they can't just sit there and be like, nah, fuck it, now I'm good. My body will stay like this for the rest of the time. No, it's a maintenance thing. You have to maintain that skill level. You have to maintain that mental stability. You have to maintain that mental fortitude, right? But if you're here right now, You have to give yourself some credit because you are pushing through more adversity than most people do in their everyday lives. Because most people would not want to come back from losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in an individual day. And if that was you today and you're still here, you deserve a little bit of credit. You truly do. So I know that I didn't really say all that much in here, and I didn't have I had no plan. I literally 30 minutes before this was just said I wanted to do a webinar. Really, I just wanted to do a check-in with everybody. And I just wanted to let you know that, hey, no matter what end of the spectrum you're on, you're gonna have these tough and tricky days. It's gonna be a little bit hard for you sometimes. Don't expect it to ever just get easy and done and good and be completely fixed. Don't expect that, right? But start to give yourself wins and credits where you can, and they'll add up really fucking fast. Like the wins you give yourself will add up really fast, and you will notice improvements in your trading. So I love you all very, very much. I hope you have an amazing rest of the day, and I'll see you all tomorrow. All right? Cheers. Gang, 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 gang.